kind of works after you get it warmed up.
Yeah, I bet. So that is that one of the fuses for the lights or what?
Yeah, fuse for the whole car.
Okay.
I put that on for safety. Well, actually, Eddie helped me do this. I like where he put it though. It's easy to get to. I had it up on the floor. That wasn't a very good place for it.
Do you remember where you got this car from?
Yeah, I got this car from Jeff Burns. He's in Crestwood, Kentucky, which is a suburb of Louisville.
Okay.
Yeah. We went up there with Ed Starnes and Joe Sissel. Ed was wanting to look at a car he had for sale that Jeff had for sale. And this happened to be sitting in the driveway covered up with a tarp with the wheels off of it. He had it up on blocks. He had the rest of his cars down there in the basement, but this one he had it just covered with tarpaulin, sitting there with the top down on it and all that. And I don't remember where they had the stanchions up on the windshield or how he had that. But anyhow, some way that he had it covered up. And I looked at it while I was there, just asked him what it was. That's a Model T. And I looked at it, and then on the way back, I got thinking about it. He priced it. And a couple, 2 or 3 telephone calls. We're back up there the next week picking it up. Chris Waters had a new trailer he'd ordered, and we picked it up on whatever it was, a Tuesday, I think it was. Anyhow, I was working where I had those days off, and we spent all day. Wendell took me to LBL, and we switched over to vehicles there, and I had some stuff to deliver to Bowling Green, which is where we were going to pick the trailer up. So we went to Bowling Green, picked the trailer up, and delivered some dog stuff to a pet store there, and then went on up to Crestwood and bought the car.
Now, what year model is this one?
1927. This is the last year for the Model Ts. They quit about the middle of the year and switched over, started working on the Model A stuff. They made a few Model A's in the very tail end of 27, but they're 28 model years. And there technically wasn't any 27 Model A's, but a few of them were made in the last part of the year.
Do you remember when the first Model T was that? What year was that?
Well, it was developed in 1908, but the production really started in 1909.
Okay.
And then somewhere along the line, the moving assembly line got introduced, and they were building one of these every, I don't know, a couple of them a minute or something at one time.
So about 18 years or so.
Yeah. Yeah. So they can't say 2008 is the anniversary of it, but there was a few T's probably made in 8, but you know, they were just getting things going type of thing. The T was quite a bit of change from they had the R and the S. They had actually started with an A back in 1903, and when they got back to the end of the Model T era, they decided to start over again with called the new Ford. This was 26 and 27 is what they called the improved Ford. They had streamlined a little bit and went to a nickel radiator shell, and you know, put a little different fenders on them and tied them all in a little different. The earlier Model Ts were, you know, there was a whole lot different in the way the fenders and stuff went on. And the motor basically is the same basic motor. They got a couple little things different on this, but you can take an early motor and put it in here and run it.
Will this be a 4-cylinder?
It's a 4-cylinder, 20 or 23 horsepower, who you're talking to. 1 coil per cylinder, no water pump, no fuel pump, and no gas. Yeah, no fuel pump, no water pump, or no oil pump. Splash lubricated, gravity feed on the gas, and what they call thermal cycling. Some of them call it a percolator system, thermal cycling. The warmer water goes to the top and the cold goes to the bottom, and it circulates through the motor. And it does a good job, and you got a good radiator and everything on it. So, you know, if you got you a temperature gauge, you can check this radiator, you'd find that the bottom is colder than the top.
Okay.
That's the way thermodynamics works. But you know, and that belt there just turns the fan. There's no pump or anything in it. It's just a bearing thing on it. No It just circulates the water.
And there's your Uga horn.
Yeah, well, that's not the original horn. They had more of a beep horn on them. There's one up there, but it's for a magneto horn. It's for an earlier one. But anyway, this, I just like the sound of that better. And, anyhow.
Is this one of the original radiator caps with it? Something like
Yeah,
this?
yeah, that was an original. Of course, it's been replaced.
Yeah.
This original shell, but it's all been replated. The one I had on when I had to wreck it, foobar hit. It went to the junk the other day when I hauled off a bunch of stuff.
And this is the hand crank in case you're something with your.
Yeah, if you want to show off, that's what you do. This is not the proper bumper, but it protects it.
Yeah.
They wanted $300 for a bumper for it, and I just put a Model A bumper on it. This is the right brackets, you know. They're aftermarket, and these are the right bolts for that. But the rest of it was well, the Model A works on there fine. That's what you got to do. If I'd had a bumper on it when it hit that tree, I wouldn't have tore up as much as that.
Yeah. The wired rims are that standard for this kind of car with the white wow, or is that?
Yeah, then 26 and 7 you could get either one, but the wire wheels are less maintenance to them. Wood wheels you got to take care of. You know, got to be careful with them. They're done to dry out, and break, and they're pretty strong though, really.
When we see this side of the engine, I think it looks a little different on this
Oh,
side.
yeah,
You
this
see
is
the
good.
spark plugs and
This is
the
Carburetor.
heads.
This isn't the original. In 27 they had what they call a vapor carburetor, and I'm not using it because it's a little more trouble to maintain. And in fact, I need to put a gasket sitting in that thing. I did. Wendell given somebody to help me do that one day. This has got, see this piece of metal here?
Yeah.
That's what you call a stove or heat pipe. It picks up a little heat off of this so it's not pulling cold air in there.
Okay.
And kind of helps it. This cover's missing off here because we was having a little trouble with that thing. And it's I've got a diode to go and I'm going to replace it with, I think. Wendell's got to help me on that generator. We got a little plastic bushing in here needs to be replaced.
And this part.
That's your settlement bulb.
Okay.
And this is where you turn the gas off and on.
Okay.
I got a little note on there, turn it up for off, on, or down for off, or whichever way I marked it, I forgot.
And that just houses all your electronics, keep it kind of watertight.
Yeah, there's a coil in there for each one of these cylinders.
Okay.
They're a Trebler coil. When it reaches up, what that does is these small wires that go, the small wires, of course these are spark plugs, small wires go down to a timer here.
Okay.
And according to where it's at, it completes a circuit there to ground, and that coil fires, and then it's on. I think you could make it work on 2 coils, but you'd be firing on the exhaust thing. So that's the way a freezer shredding does, and it seems like it works. But anyway, but 1 coil per cylinder, and all that's got to be set with the special tools.
And this part here
That's your gas.
is where you put the gas in.
That's right, yeah. It's like a barrel bone right there. And that's, to check the gas, you take a stick, and they had, back in the day, and they had one that graduated according whether you had an oval tank or round tank or square tank. This is a rectangular tank, whatever you want to call it. Anyhow, that's what this has got, the rectangular tank. And I got a new piece of rubber for this, but this one didn't want to stay on there. It's the reason to keep my windshield closed.
And these all came.
When I had to cut the glass, I had them put a tinted glass in there because it's less glare.
And they all came with that canvas on there, right?
Yeah, vinyl. Cobra green, I think is what they call that. Okay. Take it over to Thompson's, they have him put a top on it. But we ended up, they sent me a pencil at the top and we got it on there. Or he was gonna cut us the top, I think that's what the deal was, but anyway. I don't know whether he matched our stuff. Which I don't guess it made much difference. But I'm happy with what we got on it anyway. DT's on the candidates.
Is this a variation of the models that had I guess the mother-in-law seat or whatever?
Well, that was the earlier ones.
That
was the earlier ones. And they didn't have a trunk. Just had a little seat back there.
So, no, later models they ended up.
They had a little platform back
Yeah.
there. And then they put that seat on there. Called that the mother-in-law seat. But this is the same vehicle, basically, as a pickup truck, except instead of having this, what do they call this thing? The trunk, anyhow. Instead of having it on there, they had a bed. And it fit into the back of the body, similar to this. Just a little difference in this piece here. All the wood, the metal from about the first 5 or 6 inches here is all been replaced here and here, and that's a different door.
That's probably their collects. I remember when it sets for a while, huh?
Yeah, they're bad about rusting out down here. And so I just put new metal in it, welded it in. That's the way to fix it. You can bondo it up, and then in a year or so, it's all back where you started, and worse.
You got one head, one washer, wiper,
Yeah.
laying.
Manually operated.
They probably didn't have the clear plastic. That's probably just a hole in the tarp or something, huh?
What's that?
In the back, did they have any plastic for the back?
Oh, back here? Oh, yeah, they had that. I forget what they call isinglass back here, what they call steel or something like that. But this is probably a little better than what they had in the original ones. They'll, after they get so many years, they'll get yellow. I guess the sun does it, or just age. Plastic, believe it or not, plastic deteriorates.
This steering wheel, can you explain what exactly you had to do for?
Well, let me get on
Go around
this.
that side, be a little bit better lighting.
This is a pretty fast ratio steering, but it's the slowest of all the T's. This right here's got planetary gears in it, and that's where you get your gear reduction.
Okay.
You're turning this right here, but it's turning that shaft down there.
Okay.
And it's just got a rod on it that goes back and forth. But this gear, your gear reduction is in this planetary gear here. There's also planetary gears in the transmission. That's how you do your lower speeds and your reverse and all that stuff. It's got bands and clutches in it, like an automatic. Very much like an automatic.
Yeah, 2-speed, right?
Yeah,
Low and high.
well, they call it 3-speed.
And in reverse?
You had 2 speeds forward and 1 reverse.
Okay.
Yeah. And the gear, and it is geared a little bit better in reverse. That's the reason they would talk about the car wouldn't pull uphill on some of the hills, and they would back it up the hill.
Okay.
It was geared a little lower there, but also when they had the gas tank, see this gas tank's up here in the cow, but the original gas tank's up till 26, and they moved them up there. They were under the seat, so when you stopped to get gas, you had to get out, take the seat out, and fill it up, and then you just got to sit on that gas tank. And then when they come out with the Model A, of course, they had the gas tank up here, but the Model A also, it was made in the cow, and some of the states didn't like that, so anyhow, they ended up putting them back in the back, and then they had to put a fuel pump on. But
And as far as the levers, which one does which?
the left one, that advances your spark. You're retarded to start it, and then you advance it as you're going down the road. The faster the motor turns, you just keep working your advance up so that when it fires, everything works, and this is your throttle here. There is no accelerator on the floor. There's 3 pedals down there in the floor.
Yeah.
Okay, your pedal on the right is brake.
Alright, so the B for brake?
Yeah. And the center one is reverse.
Reverse.
You have to have the clutch halfway down, and you can do that either by pushing down with your foot to the halfway point, or you can bring this lever back to this upright position. Now when you shove the lever forward, go ahead and shove it forward, the clutch comes up for high gear.
Okay.
You pull it back to that point right there, a little bit more. You'll see it after you get so far it quits advancing. Yeah, push it one leg, yeah, right about there. That's got you in neutral there. And if you want to go now, you can go in reverse or you can go in low gear, but to go to high, you got to release that and let it go all the way forward. And so, of course, most of the time I step on the pedal, and as I step on it, I release that handle, so I'm ready to go into high gear. Then when I get up to speed, I get ready for high gear, you just let the pedal out and chug along.
And as far as your starter, you don't start it with the key. You turn
No,
that turns the electronics on.
Okay, this way you're starting on a battery. When you turn it over here, it goes to magneto. So most of the time you start it on battery, switch it over to magneto, and it doesn't draw anything off the battery that way. In some of the early cars, they just had a battery on them. They didn't have any starter on them, so they just had a hot shot battery, which has had 3 big old, they were 6 volts anyhow. And it just for the ignition is all it was.
And then you got your starter button here that's
Yeah, you got to watch when you're tromping around in there, you'll step on it. This car, because of the way the steering wheel and everything is, it's a little easy to get in. You can get on either side. Up till 25 still didn't have a driver door on it. In 26 and 7, they put the driver doors on these cars. The others, they just had a stamped out thing that looked like a door over there. So you just had one door on a Roadster. We did the documentary over there on Randy T. Wells. We came in out from this side because that was supposed to be 1923. So.
And then what's this piece down here with your flashlight hanging off of it?
That's your choke and your gas adjustment valve. You pull it out for choke, and you turn it one way or the other for adjusting the lean or rich on your carburetor.
Alrighty.
There's a little storage area under the seat. We don't have the rubber mat in because we've been messing around with that adjustment stuff. So.
But it's pretty much standard to have wood on the bottom there, right?
Yeah, but it had a rubber mat over it.
Yeah.
The mat's in the back. I just never have put it in. And when I decide that the transmission's like I want it, I'm going to go ahead and put just go ahead and slam it on everything.
It's closed.
Now this car originally just had one tail light and no stoplight. So we put a stoplight in there, changed the bulb holder and the bulb, so we got a stoplight.
Make
And
it
then
a
I
little
added another light over on this side for safety. So you got 2 tail lights.
Yeah.
But the law only required 1, and that was even up into the 50s because I know Dad bought a new pickup truck in '58 and it didn't have signals on it. When he went to put signals on, he found that the one on the right was just a dummy. He had to buy the guts for it. But anyhow, he put them on there after he bought the truck. A lot of pickups back then were just strictly bare bones. You had to pay extra to get a heater in them. You know.
Yep.
Of course, you could get the nicer model had a better seat, a little different windows layout and stuff like that. But the standard pickup was just bare bones. It was no radio.
What do you think is the biggest difference between this and the Model A?
The gear shift and power. Model A's got a lot more power. It's got double power.
So what would be a top end speed for this
car,
one?
40, 45 probably. According to what everything was just right.
Yeah.
Model A would do 60 pretty easy. You know, they advertised it would do 60 or better. So. There was a lot of speed back in.
Yeah. Of course, it's a lot different when you're on bumpy roads versus the smooth ones we have now.
They didn't have by the time the Model A come around, they had a lot more improved roads. But there was, if you was in the country, you was probably on gravel. And that was before the interstate, and a lot of the, you know, in the 20s and 30s, they were building highways. And after World War II, that's when the interstate system started. When Eisenhower became president, he appreciated that the Germans had their Autobahn over there, even in the late 30s, early 40s. That was quite a deal. So that was one thing he did at that for them. We got that in the Volkswagen truck. The rest of it they can keep.
Well, I appreciate you showing me your car.
Okay.
I'm glad to see it's up and running again.
Yeah. It's